Well, what's up, guys? So today we're going to talk a little bit about kind of planning out a layout, things to think about and look at. So remember the last video, I had a lot of shelving here in the car, so all that's been moved out of the way. Got this space cleaned up, ready to start constructing some stuff. So first things you kind of want to think about when wanting to start thinking about building a layout is where are you going to do it at exactly? So a lot of people have basements. They're the lucky ones. And so you have a lot of open space and typically the temperature is controlled, low humidity. But unfortunately I don't have that. And as well, living in a 3-bedroom house, 2 of those are occupied by the family, 1 is an office. So I had to do the next best thing and move outside to the garage. So one thing to consider though, for me, is at least was being in the garage is wanted to make sure it's climate controlled. So we'll be installing an AC HVAC system out here to control some of that humidity and keep the temperature maintained for trains because, sensitive electronics, you want to make sure that they are protected as best they can. So once you kind of have that space, you want to obviously make enough room for it. So you can see I cleaned out all the area around here. And then the next thing you want to do is get an idea of what kind of space you're working with as far as your measurements. So some other things to consider is you want to make sure you have access to power. So I have an outlet here, which is going to be good. I can hook up the power supplies, like we'll just run down a track here, some sort of floor covering up to the layout, maybe make a quick connect. That way, whenever I'm not using it, get it out of the way. So as far as getting those measurements, just as simple as getting a tape measure and measuring out your size. So I'm starting out here at the edge of the door. I want to make sure right there butted up against it and come down. We're going to take a look and see. So ideally, you want to kind of get an idea. So I have like 18 feet. Now, that's great, right? Well, not necessarily, because you also have to then consider, well, we have to get around the layout. We have to move around it. So realistically, a good comfortable amount of space is going to be, I'll say 2 feet, 24 inches. If you can see. So from that 18 feet, we're going to deduct 2. So that leaves us 16 feet. And then come down to the other side. We're going to take a look at some of the things that may be in the way. Well, first off, we have the entrance to the garage. Some workbench here, some junk. So from this side, I think I'm going to take off a few more feet. So 18 minus another 2 leaves us at 14 feet. So then measuring the width, same principle. I want to make sure I leave myself a little bit of room, because another thing that we talked about in the very first video is eventually I want to lift this layup up out of the way whenever I'm not using it. So I have to consider things such as making sure I can clear this motor and pump for the lift. And on the opposite side, again, I want to make considerations for moving around the layout. So I want to make sure I leave a gap. So what I've come up with is about 8 feet for the width. And I think that'll be nice because that's 2 standard 4x8 sheets of plywood stacked together. 8 feet makes it simple. So with that, we have our base dimension. So layout for me needs to be 14 foot long, 8 foot wide. That's sort of the maximum that I'm working with. So once you have that, you can start thinking about general layout shape. For me, I think I'm just going to stick with a basic square that will give me the ability to easily move this up and down when the time comes. But if this was a basement or a room, we could do something along the lines of a U potentially, where you could have the layout run in that shape and have a couple turnarounds or something. You could walk right into the middle of it. Another idea would be to just do a L shape, maybe run along a wall, or even if you just butted up against the wall and had it moved out some, have the depth that way. So just really leave it up to your imagination, however you want it, whatever suits your space best. And that's just where you have to walk around, take those measurements, have a general idea of kind of what you want the train to do. And from there, you can start planning out your track layout, which is what I'm going to show next. So the software that I like to use is SCARM, S-C-A-R-M. You can download this online. It's a free software. You do pay if you want to get more track segments, but generally for most people, the free version will be more than enough. So reason why I like this software is it is very flexible. It has many different styles of track as far as all the different gauges and the manufacturers of the gauges and track. So if we look over here to the left, we can see all of the different gauges of track, and when you click on a particular gauge, it will pull up the manufacturers of that track. So for example, if we take a look at the O gauge, here you can see Atlas, Gargraves, Lionel, quite a few different varieties. So for me, I'm going to be using the Atlas O gauge 3 rail, and when I select that, you can see here at the left it shows all the different sections that the manufacturer Atlas made for the 3 rail, offering all the different curve diameter sections, all the switches. They have the round table even in here at the bottom, which is really cool. So first thing that we do when we start off is I like to find my 0 point reference, and from there I like to go ahead and pretty much draw out the general shape of what the layout's going to be based on the scales here at the left and at the top. And with that, I can then give a general shape to draw the layout in. So if we go back over to the track selection, we go down to the bottom where we have figures. If we select it, then we can use the drawing tools to actually make a rectangle that will be able for me to line out the exact space that I'm working with based on the scales here on the screen. So what I'll do is take the rectangle tool, start at the 0, 0 mark here at the scale, and draw out a rectangle that will match the 8 foot by 15.5 foot dimension that we measured earlier. So now that we have that laid out, we're going to go ahead and start putting down some track. So up at the top we have our red arrow is actually our start point, so we can just pretty much drop that anywhere on the layout just to get going. I'm then going to come down and select the 40-inch straights. That's a simple, quick, easy piece to get started with. So put down 3 of those, and then I'm going to come down and grab some curves. I'm going to start off with some 072. That'll fit really well with the 8 foot width. We're going to start off, you can see we have 2 options, a left and a right turn. So we're going to start off with the right turn. We're going to keep going till we have a full half circle. Looks good. Go back up, grab some 40-inch straights, throw those down, and then we're going to come back, keep that same 072 so we can complete the symmetry here, and make sure to put down 8 more pieces for everything to connect. So as you can see here, the track is overhanging the edge of the layout. Not going to work, obviously, so we need to shorten this up some. So to shorten up these tracks, if we click on one of the sections, you see it turns red. We can right click, go over and cut that out. Pretty easy. Now I want to connect these two. You can see the 2 arrows here. So if I come over to the left and double click on this section, now that they're not connected, it will actually highlight all of those sections that are connected together. So now we're just going to come up and line up the arrows. You see it turn red and green. That means that we're aligning. Once we release the mouse, they automatically connect to one another. So once it's all connected, we can double click again. Everything turns red, and we can right click and hit move and move that wherever we want to. So now I'm going to cut out one of these sections of 40-inch, and I actually just want to drop a switch in here. So it's pretty easy. Come over and grab a switch and just select it and drop it over here at that new start point. And now we need to connect this section. So if I went up to the top, grab the tape measure, you can see I can pull this across and get an estimate of about what the gap is to cover. And by doing that, I can come in and scroll up, determine how much needs to fit in there. 2 10s, a 5.5 it looks like. And as you can see, there's no arrows there, so that means everything connected up well. If it wasn't correct, so if we come over and put in another 10-inch, you can see we have an overlap. Those don't join. That's not good. Delete that back out. You can see here if I select 5.5, still not quite right. And the magic token is that 4.5 piece. So from there we can just keep adding pieces of track and continue on. And I'm going to drop in a round table next, just to add a little bit of character here, because I'm actually going to use one of these on the layout. So also the next great thing about the capabilities here is once you're done creating your layout, you want to know what track sections you actually need to order and purchase. It's pretty nice. You can just come up here to the top at the tools, and it will actually give you a printout of all the different sections that you need to order. Additionally, it will give you a length of the layout, which is really nice when it comes to ordering roadbed and ballast, stuff like that. So that's really nice, and from there you can print out again, do your ordering, and make sure you have everything you need. And you also know that everything's going to connect together and be exactly how you have it on your design. And this is what I ended up with at the end. This is the layout that I'm going to build. As you can see, we have kind of a lot going on. Looks a little busy here, but I wanted to be able to capture quite a few different elements all in the space that I had. So we're going to have a turntable here, something I always wanted to have on a layout. Plenty of stalls for locomotives, and right here is going to be a nice long 072 spur to where I can park big long steam locomotives as I'm running them. I want to keep 072 curve to be able to get those parked there. Here on the left we're going to have some tunnels, add a little bit of character to the layout. And back here at the back we're going to have a few high-speed switches. We can change between inner and outer loop, as well as you can see the right hand side here I have a bridge drawn out. Again, add some depth to the layout. I want to be able to put that in there, and maybe do a waterfall feature. Plan on doing a hand-built wooden trestle bridge there, so I think that'll be really cool in the end. And here in the center we're gonna have planning on kind of a not really a wall, but I guess a small section where we can split this up and put some different scenery. So depending on how you view the layout, certain areas will be blocked off unless you walk around the other side, and it'll give it a little bit of character and depth. So we'll have kind of this old railroad section here in green to be able to just kind of have like a rundown area. In the center we'll have some industry spurs. I think I'll put some different buildings there, so I think that'll be really cool. And then again in the very back we'll have the yard area to have some trains parked. Originally I kind of wanted to do something maybe underneath the layout, but it just didn't pan out, didn't have the space. So you have to work with what you got, and that's what I'm doing. Now you'll notice some of these sections here are in blue, so I'm kind of planning on utilizing some of the older Lionel fast track pieces, try to make those look realistic with the Atlas track if I can. But I would like to have sort of like a section here where they were automated working on the track here at the end of the yard, and then by the round table have the scrap yard scene where they had the guys welding and all that stuff. I think that'll be pretty cool with the old Santa Fe cab. So with that, that's going to be what I'm planning. Tracks purchased, have everything here. So all we have to do next is buy the lumber, start getting stuff fitted together, build the base, and start putting down track. So stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll have more updates to come. Thanks guys, take care, see you next time.